Hello everyone, this is Alistair. In the last video that I recorded for you, I showed you how I go through my process of looking for a niche site on Amazon using the Amazon bestsellers list. And so in this video what I want to show you is how I qualify the keyword for my URL once I've chosen the niche that I want to go into. Now I did choose women's coats as an example in the last video, so I want to continue that theme for you. And so the first thing to do is to go across to Google, and what we're going to do is we're going to look for the Google keyword search tool. So if you type into Google keyword tool, it will then come up here in the list of search results, and if you click on the link you will be taken through to Google's AdWords section. If you already have a Google account, you can sign in using the click the sign in button here. If you do not have a Google or Gmail account, you can click the create an account here button and set up your account. It takes 2 to 3 minutes and is a simple step-by-step process, so it doesn't take too long. I already have an account, so I'm going to click the sign in link here, and Google will sign me into the keyword planner. If you already have a group of keywords that you're already using, Google will ask you if you want to resume with those keyword searches or if you want to start afresh. I'll show you later on in this video how to create an ad group, but for now let's just start over from scratch. You're given 3 options here down the side, and the one I like to use is search for new keywords using a phrase, website or category. You click on that link, you're then greeted with a series of boxes to fill out, and the ones that you're interested in really is the top box here, in which you'll add in your keyword phrase and possibly the target in here and the date range if necessary. Now if we go back to our search on Amazon bestsellers to the coats, we can actually get an idea for a keyword by clicking on one of the coats. You'll notice in the title here we have women's warm winter parka coats, and if you scroll down you'll see other customers have viewed other different types of coats. It's quite nice to, seems like a lot of these are using the word warm. So what I might do is, if I copy women's warm winter coats and paste that into my search term and remove parkas, we can then do a search on women's warm winter coats. Now also what we have here is targeting. Because I'm in the UK and all of my affiliate sites are United Kingdom based, I simply target my keyword search at my market, which is United Kingdom. However, you can of course add in other countries. So if you're in the US, you could just start typing United and then you have the United States. Or if you're in Singapore, Singapore comes up here, and you could just add in as many countries as that you would normally advertise in. Once you've done that, you hit the save key there and it will save that location for you. You could add negative keywords, but that's really not necessary. We are only really looking at particular keywords which pertain to making a good URL, and so we won't need to be too worried about negative keywords here. You can use a date range if you want to. For example, if you're selling a product which is specific to a particular time of the year. However, I do warn against this a little bit, simply because in the past what I've done is I've looked at a particular niche and I've looked for keyword searches over maybe say July and August for that niche, and the actual searches for those terms haven't been that high in those months. However, what I've realized is that sometimes people will buy products in advance of the months that they will be using them, and so by narrowing your search terms down to the few months that people would use that product, you actually may be cutting out the majority of your market. So it's very important that you don't stifle your keyword terms here at all. So let's click some ideas and see what comes up. Okay, so here at the top here we have the average monthly searches for women's winter coat, warm winter coats in general. So this is taking all the keywords listed below into account, and it's telling us how many people are searching across the year. This particular graph here is always very interesting and important because it tells you the best time to actually build and launch your site. Now, as you can see that in November, if you were taking all the keywords into account, then you are looking at 1.3 million searches for women looking for coats in November. However, that's where the market is peaking, so you don't want your website to be launched here. What you want to be looking for is where the searches are beginning to build. And so the best place to launch your site is as early as possible before the searches really kick off. So the latest you really want to be launching your site is in July. And if you launch in July, your site has time to build organic traffic through August and into September. And then you should be hitting some nice sales through October, November, and in September. So as you can see here, the sales in August pretty much more than double what's in July, and then they double again. They've more than double again in September, and they keep building. And even in December and January, they're still really, really high, and in February too. So you end up with a good 5 to 6 months worth of opportunity to attract people to your website if you launch your site in June or July. So if you can, then you need to aim where your particular chosen keyword is low in anticipation of your market building right through those months here. So in other words, you're riding the wave right through the main search term months and out the other side. So we originally typed in women's warm winter coats, and this has come back with a monthly search. Now, let me just say that this average monthly search, these are local searches, and so what we are seeing here is the monthly searches in the United Kingdom. So that's not a great deal of people. So what we're going to do is we are going to look for a better keyword which we can use for our URL. Now what Google does for you very helpfully is it gives you all the relevant keywords pertaining to your keyword phrase. So all of these things here, when someone has done a search for women's warm winter coats, someone else has done a search for winter coats, women's coats, winter jackets, and so on and so forth. All these keywords are relevant to your particular search term phrase. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down the list and find a keyword which I think fits closely to my original keyword but gives me a better yield on average monthly searches. Now I could go through a whole list here and try and pick one of these, but I'm not really going to be very accurate that way. The best thing to do is to see who gives the highest return in average monthly searches. So if you click on this particular column here, Google AdWords will reorganize the list for you, starting at the highest first. And so now what we have is women's coats with a very high monthly search of 40,500. Now you could use a keyword like women's coats, but as I've explained in the last video, that's far too generic, and so I wanted to create a niche, and I'm looking for winter coats. So anything with winter coats in would be good. Winter coats itself isn't a great keyword because again you have winter coats for men, for boys, for girls, as well as women. So again, that's really not the best keyword search for me. So if I scroll down, I come to women's winter coats, and that's looking much better with 12,100 searches a month, and that's looking like a really good keyword that I can use. So I'm going to use women's winter coats as my particular keyword. Let me explain these columns to you as well. The competition column is telling you how strong the competition on these keyword searches are, and that's really relevant if you are looking to set up a Google AdWords campaign. Now, a Google AdWords campaign is a campaign where you will actually create an advert using Google's system, and then what you do is you then have to pay for every time someone clicks on one of your adverts. And this little suggested bid here tells you how much they think that you should be willing to pay for every click on one of your adverts. So if you decide to do an advert for women's coats, you must be willing to pay around about the £1 mark in order to guarantee that you're going to get somewhere in the average of that per month. Now, you'd have to be pretty sure that someone's going to buy your product in order to be willing to pay £1. Because if you ended up with 40,000 odd people clicking through to your website in a month, you can imagine that's a huge amount of money to be spending on an AdWords campaign. So I never use paid campaigns for any of my sites. I prefer organic traffic. It's the best and the cheapest way of building traffic to your website. However, it does take longer, and that is why I've explained to you that you need to start building your website in the quiet months in anticipation for the larger searches as they come through in the later months. And so that's the reason why we have these columns here, and we don't really need to pay too much attention to them, other than it does tell us that this is a highly contested keyword, which is great news for us because it means that there are a lot of people who realize that this is a great niche to be in. And so it's just really more affirmation than anything else for us. However, what we're really interested in is this little figure here, 12,000 people a month looking for women's winter coats, which means that we should be able to get a nice chunk of that market hitting our own website once it's launched. So in order to use that keyword, there's one thing that I like to do. I like to add it to a plan, and all you have to do is you click the little arrow here and it will add your keyword into that ad group. You remember at the beginning of this video, a little box popped up in the middle of the screen and told me that I already had an ad group available. Did I want to use it or start a new ad group? And I said I wanted to start a new ad group. This is really helpful for you. If, for example, you were on Amazon and you found 2 or 3 niches and you weren't sure which niche you wanted to go into first, so you came across to the Google AdWords section and you did the search for your keywords, you could save all the keywords that you wanted for each of those niches into an ad group, and then you could make your decision and set up your first site. And then later on, once your first site is up and running, you might decide that you want to launch the second site that you searched on, and all you have to do is just come back straight back into your Google AdWords account and it will still be here waiting for you. Now, there are a few things you can do. You can either copy it to the clipboard, you can download the plan, or you can save it to the account. I wouldn't bother to try and save it to the account. What it does is it then adds it into a Google AdWords campaign. Although that's not running and live, it's just a bit of a nightmare because you then lose the keyword up here, which you don't want to do. So you can download it to a PDF file or an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can revisit it at any day, any time you want. If I click through into my main search, it will tell you my keyword. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select it and copy, and I'm going to go across to the website in which I will now choose my URL. Now, for those of you who are already taking the course, you will remember this from one of the beginning videos. This is where we started. We'd already effectively done this step, and we had started by buying the domain name that we had chosen. So what I'm doing now, this has kind of gone full circle, and I'm showing you how I have gone about choosing the domain name. So here I am at 123reg.co.uk. You can use any domain registration company. However, I just prefer to use 123reg because I like the simplistic way that they provide the information. In the top right hand corner, you can paste in your keyword and hit the search button, and it will come back with all the available websites that are there for you. Now, you really want to be looking either for .com or for your own .co.country link. Now, these are both taken for women's winter coats, and so what I like to do is just add in one word which will not detract from that particular keyword. So as most of you already know, I like to use the word best. So I've got best women's winter coats, and if I do a search again, we all have all green here, so I could now choose best women's winter coats.co.uk. I could just trial it if I wanted to. I'd take it for 1 year. That would be £6.99 plus VAT. I'd click and add that to my basket, and of course then we have the URL ready to buy. So that's the process I go through in order to choose, first of all, the niche as we explored in the last video, and then how to sort of confirm that that niche is worth taking further. And as you've seen, I've had to change my keyword in order to be more focused on a better monthly search, which is fine. And the way that I've been able to do that is by using Google's great keyword planning tool, and that's really helpful in terms of telling you how many people actually search each month on your particular keywords, and it gives you great ideas for keywords that you can use for your URLs. So I hope this video has been really helpful to you, and I wish you all the best of luck. I shall speak to you soon.